have her on for something.
Right, right, right.
So,
Oh,
It 2, or It Chapter 2.
goodness, yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah,
It was
definitely.
like like 3 hours, I think it was.
Yeah, and like each hour felt like its own separate movie somehow.
Yeah, they had the different take on each area of like each character. It kind of felt like a theme park a little bit, like a theme park horror movie in a sense. Like they went around to each attraction,
Yeah.
different scare at
Yeah,
each
each one felt like a
character.
different type
Yeah,
of horror. Like Bev, her thing was the like, oh, you can't escape family, and like the whole abuse thing. But then they
hmm
like slink on over to Richie like immediately. He's like, oh look, see, he's hiding something. What is he hiding? We think
right, right.
he's gay.
Yep. And that was never actually like 100% like talked about. Like yeah, there was a little thing where like the kids were making fun of him because I don't know, they're awful
Yeah,
kids.
I've been to Maine. That's just pretty much how half the population is.
They didn't even like cover if you actually like that was his thing, like he was actually gay. Like it didn't even
Right. I think
kind of
like there's enough
resonate
like
that.
I believe in the book they had like subtext without admitting that he was
Right,
gay, so they could
right.
have like a gay character in there. And then
hmm
the same thing in this movie where like there was enough subtext without saying that he's gay that you could infer that he's a gay character.
Yeah, yeah. I want to say that like it seems like yes.
Right. Like with the like by the way, this whole thing is spoilers, but
Yeah.
the scene where like the Adrian Mellon, I think his name is, the gay guy from like the first 2 minutes of the movie, like
yeah.
his corpse is walking by, is like, "See you later, sweetheart." And then like the whole thing's, "I know your secret. You told you
Yeah.
it's a secret."
Yeah, he had his whole little song and dance.
Right. And
Yeah, it
then
definitely seemed like that's what they were going for. Was like, yeah, he's gay. That's his thing.
right.
Hmm.
But then like everything else in the film too was like something that like there's always something going on with each character where you're like, oh, what's going? All right, I think I see where this is heading, but they'd always
hmm
like pull some sort of left hook, so that way when you figure out you were right the whole time, like, no, 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 we tricked you twice
Yeah,
with
they try to definitely like make it a bit more surprising than like obvious.
right, with Bev, you know, trying to like be with Bill, even though both
hmm
of them are married, and then she's like, yeah, no, I really miss Bill. That's who I miss. And Ben's like, oh,
Right.
Jesus, all right, fine. It's not
Yeah,
like my
exactly.
poem meant anything to you. And then later he's shouting, your hair is winter fire. He's like, oh, it was Ben.
It's been all along. But aside from just digging right into the meat of the story, what did you think of it? Like, what did you like it? Did you not?
Oh
What
yeah,
would you?
I loved it. Like I'm
Okay.
a horror movie fanatic, and so
Right.
something like
Right.
this was really fun. Like they
hmm
had like the good tension scares with the old lady scene where like the entire thing is just build up. Where like no, 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 I don't like
Right.
this. But then like it also had the jump scares, which I'm not typically a fan of, but they did it pretty well in here with the what was the name, Paul Bunyan statue.
Oh yeah, definitely jumped me.
Yeah, I remember in the theater with the like bleacher scene, I screamed and like half the theater started laughing at me.
Oh yeah, the when he was counting and
Yeah,
the little girl. Yep, 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 yep.
one, two.
Like you knew it was coming, but they still kind of got you with it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
good.
like, you
I,
forgot to say three. Oh! It's like, oh,
yeah.
no. And, like, unfortunately for me, but also kind of fortunate, is that when I'm scared, I'm in shutdown mode. So I
hmm
just freeze in place. And, like, unless my eyes are closed, I'm not going to be able to close them because I'm just, like, stuck in fear. And so I'm able to see the movie, which is the good part. But the not good part is that I'm terrified of clowns. And so every time he's on screen, I'm just staring at him. It's like, no, make him go away. Don't let him be there anymore.
Yeah, goodness, Bill Skarsgård with just an amazing performance. I really liked when he was on screen. Like just watching his acting was nuts. I almost wish there was like more, like less of the
Less of
crappier.
the kids.
No, not less of the kids. Less of like the bugs in the Chinese restaurant, like some of the little other scares, or like when the head of what's his name was a spider.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
almost wish
Richie.
like there was
Or no,
more of
Eddie.
just like
Stanley. Jeez, I got it all wrong.
Pennywise being gross and horrifying because he's really good at that.
Yeah, like I heard that behind the scenes that when Bill Hader first met Bill Skarsgård, Skarsgård was all in like the Pennywise costume. He's like, "Oh, hey, what sort of effects do they use to make your eyes go crazy like that?" And like
Oh, and then he
Bill
did
Skarsgård can just do that, and he's like, "Oh, you mean
it.
this?" And Bill Hader's like, "No, ah!"
Yeah. Yeah, no, I heard that's so convenient that he can do that on a whim. That really helped.
Right?
Good for him. Gosh. Yeah, the effects on him, like Pennywise himself, were interesting. I really like the end when you got to see pretty much his like true form. I almost wish they like did more of like the big cosmic spider looking thing, because it was like spider underbody and then like still Pennywise up top, except when he like opened his face.
Yeah.
But besides that, I really did like seeing like the lore of the books kind of like actually coming out. No cosmic turtle though, which is a big L on that one.
Yeah. I mean, they had a bunch of references to it. Like the first
They sure
movie had
did.
like the Lego
The
turtle,
Lego,
and
yeah.
like when they're in the water, there's like a turtle brushed past me. That way you can be like, turtles. Then this one, it was just the stuffed turtle that you see at one point.
Right.
But like I feel like they did their best, because like I feel like if they'd be like, yeah, no, we have to do
The
the
cosmic
thing of
turtle.
chewed, and then like, all right, what's that? It's like we gotta summon a turtle from the outside of this universe to kill
Oh,
Pennywise.
yeah.
I feel like that'd be like very jarring for the film, because like in the book, I believe
The
they
whole
like
thing
alluded
was
to it,
pretty jarring.
but
Yeah, even like, gosh, I can only imagine reading that. There has to be so many, because I've never read the books. I've gotten like synopsises, but even in the movie, like, just there was so much to cover from the book that like the story jumped around. I felt like a lot. Like they even changed things. I know that in the book there was none of the tokens or whatever that they had to burn or something.
right.
That was more movie.
Yeah. Also,
Another thing. Oh, continue.
no, sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say another thing. I wish I could have seen more of was when Beverly has her abusive husband. I know in the books, he actually came to. Pennywise uses him to come to torment them in what's it called? The city.
Derry?
There, yeah. I know he comes there and like actually he like kidnaps Bill's wife or something in the book, and like brings him. I don't know how all that mess works, but
yeah, and like in the like 1980 short film, or not short film, TV special they did for it, like he gets like really rapey when he kidnaps her. It's like, don't you want your balloon? You want it, don't you? You want it. You want it. It's like, all right, fine, Jesus, okay. But another thing that was changed was that in the book, it was not Hofstadter who breaks him out. I think it was Belch. But like in a deleted scene from the first one, God, what's his name? Not, is it Bill? No, that's the main guy. What's his name? The bully dude.
Oh, what's it? Bowers, Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowers, yeah. In deleted scene, Henry kills like two of his three friends because the third friend's already dead, and that third one happens to be Hofstadter, the guy with like the half a face that's drooling. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, he's the one who busts him out of the psych ward in the movie, but in the book, I thought it was Belch.
Interesting. Goodness. Well, there was a lot I mean, they presented a good, like it was pretty cohesive.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, good. Like, gosh, I'm so happy I wasn't the one that had to make it into a movie that was only 2 or 3 hours long. Man, that's a lot of story in that short period of
Right.
time.
But then again, they also had an entire first movie too. So like
Right.
altogether, it's like what 5 or 6 hours to tell 1,000 pages.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like that would add up a bit.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
they cut
I've
out
never.
some
I
stuff
should.
like sewer orgies and whatnot.
Oh yeah, just glazed over that one.
I mean, it was that itself was like what 600 pages.
God, probably. I don't know.
I'm just kidding. No.
Gosh, I remember reading about his like thoughts behind like why he did that, and it was like about
Yeah, like the ultimate loss of innocence is sex, and so like having them all come together after doing that horrible thing would be like a good way to show it. But like, I feel like murdering a demon clown was probably a higher loss of innocence than
yeah,
doing
like
it
I
in the
feel like
sewers.
yeah, like you just killed something. I feel like that takes the cake, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Goodness.
But like, I was a bit upset towards the end. I think I was talking to you about this when we got out of the film, but like as soon as they finish with the Pennywise stuff, they go to the quarry, they jump in, and they're all sad. It's like, man, I miss Eddie. Eddie was the best. Eddie, he was so cool and handsome. And no one pays any respect to my guy Stanley. All right.
Yeah, there wasn't much about Stanley in the end. I mean, he had that little speech at the end with
Yeah, it was a letter. It was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be too scared if I do this, and if I'm scared, that's exactly what he wants. And like, I understand that. That part I'm fine with. They killed him off because that's what happened in the book. He cuts his wrist, and with his own blood, he writes "it" on the bathroom wall.
yeah.
But then, like in the movie, they just like don't even recognize that he died until he sends them all letters. Like, oh yeah, Stanley, our Jewish friend.
Yeah, at the very end, they all got those letters. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, it was. After it was over, like after they killed Pennywise in the last, I was still on edge because I don't know. It felt
Too nice of an ending.
yeah, like it was too nice at the end. Like it was, and it kind of dragged. Like there was the whole part where they like finished, and they hopped in the water, and then there was like 20 scenes of like them as children riding bikes, and then they
Yeah.
like looked in the glass, and there's 20 more scenes of them as children riding bikes, and then there was like him getting the phone call from Mike, and then Mike slowly walking out of Derry, and then
Yeah,
all
and
the
then like
cuts to all the characters.
yeah, they're all riding the bike, and then suddenly like all the adults are reading the letters, and then all the kids are reading the letter, and then it just
Yeah,
like fades away. It's like, huh?
yeah, it was a lot of like goodness. Like you'd think they'd have done like a whole
It
like
felt
8 seasons long farewell right
yeah, I was
there.
gonna say it
Yeah,
felt like the end of the Lord of the Rings, where like every single
right.
character gets their own ending, but for whatever reason, it's not. It's just one ending focusing on like Mike as he leaves, with like everyone else being like, yeah, I was in this movie too.
Right. It, I I liked the characters, but I was never too attached. Like I liked them, and I'm sure I would have been more attached in the books because there's so much more you can do in a book.
Right.
But in the films, like it almost felt like a little cheap, almost because like there's only been 2 films,
Right.
like which is still more than normal. There's usually just a one,
Yeah,
but
like most horror movies, they don't actually split it into two parts. They'll be like, "Oh, that's the end of the movie," but what if we come back for more? Like the
yeah,
end of it was literally like, "It chapter 1. That's it, suckers. You guys gotta come back and spend another ticket on me."
yep.
Damn it.
But then like they had such a like long farewell sequence that I don't know, it just seemed a little.
Yeah, I feel like if you watch, like, if you binge back to back, it chapter 1 and chapter 2, it
Mm,
would probably be like the story itself would probably blend together a bit better, so that way
nicer.
you would be like, oh yeah, now I've got such an attachment to these characters that like I'm gonna feel bad when like Stanley cuts his own wrist, or when Eddie gets stabbed through the heart and his last
Yeah,
words are, I fucked your mom.
Yeah. I will say that had I watched like it and then gone and seen it too, I probably would have been. It would have been more. I would have been more on board with the
Yeah, I feel like
mom
it
character.
one is like the more characterization of it. It's like, yeah, this is how you get to know each character. Ben is like a big guy who has a big heart too,
Yeah.
and he's made fun of for being fat. And then Beverly is the girl who doesn't want to be picked on by everyone because she's already being molested at home. Bill has a stutter and used to have a brother. Like everyone's got their own thing.
Used to have a brother.
Not
Gosh.
anymore.
I thought the first chapter one was way more cohesive for me. I really enjoyed chapter one.
Yeah.
Chapter two was good. I liked the climax of it, but I just felt
Yeah.
like the in between was a little all over the place in terms of jumping around from like thing to thing to thing to thing.
Yeah, I feel like inevitably there's gonna be like a fan super edit where they take all the
Yeah.
token memories, and then they like edit it into like the first movie, and
That'd be
then just
cool.
make it all into one super long film.
I wouldn't mind that. I mean, all the content is there. I just feel like the way it was put together was in an interesting order. I don't think it was bad. I just don't think it was like amazingly
Yeah.
good in all one sequence.
Yeah, like honestly, I think it's a good movie. Not the greatest movie, but it had enough scares that I could say it's a good
The
scary
scares,
movie.
oh yes, I like. I can't fault it whatsoever in terms of it being scary. It was scary. It was good.
Yeah.
Like when they truly made a good scary movie. It was suspenseful. It was gross. It was spooky. There is, kind of. I was reading about an article where they were like going off and listing like trigger warnings for the movie, and I definitely was not expecting the hate crime right out the bat, but
Yeah.
that was like
Like when it
violence.
first started happening, I was thinking like, oh wow, is this like back in the old '80s dairy? And then like they
No.
like it's like current times. Old man Mike Hanlon, or I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, that's right. Like bigotry is still a thing. God dang it.
Oh yeah, I was learning about that. So like, that's another thing too. I wish they had put context on this one because like, had I not learned anything about the book at all, and I just saw that, and then like Mike goes and like, oh, there's blood on the wall from like it saying "come home," whatever, right?
Right.
I'd have been like, wow, that was a horrible, awful, really hard to watch hate crime that just unfolded in the beginning of the movie. Okay, now we're gonna go into the scary movie, but I had no idea that in the book the same thing happens, but
Yeah.
it's needed because that's what wakes it up. It
Yeah, it's a
needs like a
terrible
horrible,
tragedy.
awful act. Yeah, I had no idea that that was a thing until after I watched it. Then I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. That wasn't just hate crime for hate crime's sake, like out of nowhere, you know.
Right. And then like I don't remember what it was in the first movie that brought everyone. I think it was like all the kid disappearances. But
Mhm.
like I know there was something in that first one that brought him out. In the old God, what was it? The 90s? I think it was 1990 for the it one. I keep forgetting like in the middle of our discussion. Like no, it was definitely at one point in this timeline. But
Right.
I think it was like the 90s one where like the very first scene in the thing is that tiny little girl and then like she
Mhm.
gets eaten in the bed sheets.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, apparently that's that one's opening thing because 1990 ABC did not want to have a hate crime as their opening act.
I mean, yeah, it was. It's definitely a lot to swallow. I will say that was a really hard hate crime to watch.
Yeah, and
That
like
was. Ugh.
I don't think they ever show what happened to the other guy either. Like it was
No,
Adrian and
it,
then I can't remember the other one's
his
name.
boyfriend. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
the
I felt so
boyfriend.
bad. It
Because
was.
like
It
Adrian, like
was
he gets like they both get attacked, but then like
horribly
Adrian gets the brunt of it. And he gets thrown off a bridge, and then he gets
and then
eaten.
eaten.
And then his boyfriend is
Yeah.
just like, "What's
Yeah,
going
and
on?"
like, oh gosh,
Like
yeah,
I
that was.
assume he's the one who called in the police that Mike was listening to.
I want to believe that they arrested the people. I mean, I don't know. I don't like. I'm just digging into it, but
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's such a small enough town that they'd be like, "Oh, darn kids," and they'd get a slap on the wrist. Just because like I've been to that sort of small town where like nothing like that bad, where like they would practically lynch a gay person for being gay. But like there had been stuff where like it's such a small town that some people got away with stuff.
Closed-minded,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's just that small town USA mentality. It's just I haven't really seen that before. Definitely, I've not seen that in film. You hear about this kind of stuff on like the news, and actually watching it happen was actually pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
It was pretty gross. But I mean, after knowing that that's what like it's more important now because that is a horrible, awful act, and that's what like
That's
caused
currently
it.
happening.
That's yeah.
Like in the 90s it was like, yeah, this girl got killed in like her front yard. And then today we're able to show that because like stuff like that is currently happening still.
hmm Yeah, like it definitely has more emphasis and like that it was an important scene for a reason, not just out of nowhere. But yeah, that along with yeah, trigger warning for that. Good lord, if you if you have
Yeah.
bad experience with that first scene was hard. I've never been in a fight or been discriminated against really, and that was hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on in terms of other scary things, the movie itself was definitely spooky a
Yeah.
lot of the time.
I think like the scariest part for me was like right in the middle when it stops doing the flashbacks and it goes to the we're gonna take out Pennywise now scene.
Mhm.
Like right at the fair when the James McAvoy, Bill is running through that house of mirrors and he's trying to get to the kid, and like
Mhm.
he finally catches up to him. He's like, "Hey, no, I'm here to help you." And then Pennywise
And the
just shows
Pennywise
up,
is on the
starts
other
licking him
side.
there. He's like, "No,
Yeah.
no, please." And then like I don't know how the kid got there because like all four walls are they're just walls. I don't know
Just
how he got there.
Pennywise magic, manipulating things and whatnot.
Yeah, I
Must have
suppose.
been. Yeah, that was definitely a very spooky scene. I will say that one got me.
Like
Just like the tenseness of it.
and like I feel bad for that kid's parents because like it goes from like, oh, this celebrity is yelling at my son in this restaurant to some strange man pulled my kid in the middle of the road and started yelling at him to my kid has been eaten.
Yeah, man, they had a rough time.
I
What
think
I also like seeing is from that kid when he was like, I do hear voices just in the bathtub. So that means that like even like he's still on doing his same stuff. Like he's been harassing kids just the same. Like it's not just the losers club that was picked on in that way. Like he's been doing the same thing.
yeah, the hate crime on Adrian Mellon brought him back, and then he's like, "Oh wait, I'm back! Hell yeah!" And so like he ate him, and then presumably started killing a bunch of other people because we don't know how long it took for the Losers Club to get from where they were in the world to Derry, Maine. Like I assume it didn't take long for most of them because I think a lot of them were in New York, but
Right.
like it still probably took a bit for them to book a flight, get to Maine, find the hotel that he's talking about, and then like check in and whatnot. So during that time, Pennywise was probably just eating more kids, like spooking them up.
Man, it it was horrifying to think about, really, that he's just been doing that, and it showed a few of the little like, not even following the main characters. Like even when he's doing all these antics to get the main characters back, and he's still going after kids and whatnot, all the same. Like that little girl under the that was arguably one of my scariest scenes, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Uh, Skarsgård really nailed that. Oh gosh, with his face when he's just waiting while counting, and his eye just goes whoop to the
Yeah.
side.
I don't know
That
if
one,
like they give him like fake drool so that way he's just like extra slobbery, or if like he does that on command. But that's like the
oh my
grossest
gosh,
part.
yeah,
Is like he's just
he
always just
really nails that. It's so gross. It's perfect for a horror movie because it just makes me uncomfortable. Certain things he does with his body are really great for a horror movie because they make me like uncomfortable. It's that whole like uncanny valley thing. I think of the first It when he's using like his little brother to talk to him in that watery basement. He's like sitting down there. You just see his
Yeah.
eyes, and then the
Yo,
kid just
float too!
slams into the water, and then he like does that crazy looking run thing at him.
Yeah.
That made me uncomfortable because that's not natural. Like seeing that was like, oh gosh, that's not okay. That's unsettling.
Yeah, that feeling is the
Yeah.
exact feeling I get when I look at clowns in general. So every time Pennywise was on screen, it's like, no, that's not human. Get it away. Get it out of
That's
here.
not good. Yeah, no, I have to agree. Just the drool. He really. I was hearing he had a weird study. He used a little bit of like Heath Ledger's Jokers. He studied some animals actually,
Weird.
which was I don't. Oh gosh, I want to remember what it was an interview or a study about what he did. And it was he studied some animals or something to get that level of like ferocity, if that's like just the level of like anger and like
I was looking at turtles so I could figure out how to defend myself when the film came out. Turns out they didn't even use it. What the hell, guys?
man. I will say he's a really good actor. I had no idea he was an actor before this. I really didn't. I had never seen him in a movie before, but
Yeah, he's the vomit guy in Deadpool 2.
oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, speaking of vomit, that scene with
With
Eddie.
Richie? Yeah. Oh, Eddie.
That like I don't know why they framed it like a comedy, but like I was like
I
oddly
actually
funny. Like every scene with Eddie was for whatever reason a comedy, and I don't know
love
why.
Eddie. I was surprised that he was almost more of a comic relief as well, because usually it was always Richie. But
because
he
like Richie's, like,
you really
literally a
nailed it.
comedian, but then Eddie is like, I just got stabbed in the mouth.
Oh my god, that scene was hilarious. I was laughing while watching that very odd scene.
Yeah, give me back my knife. Ugh. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, cut your mullet. It's like been 30 years. It's like,
Man,
yeah, good job, man.
that along with the vomiting on him in the basement with
that just
his
call
thing.
me angel of the morning.
I definitely was not expecting that. I was not.
Like that was straight out of nowhere. That felt like something out of a Deadpool movie.
It really, really did. I had no idea. I like stopped for a second. I'm like, am I hallucinating? Is this part of the movie? I don't.
It's like, what is happening? I don't understand.
I don't think it took itself too very seriously, because it was scenes like that, which isn't a bad thing. I didn't think it didn't like. There was times where like there was a lot of like stress and tense and awful stuff happening, but then like characters would find levity in it, like the dog with Richie and Eddie in its tunnels. Like there was still a lot of comedy
What's the true
thrown in.
It's like a puppy, little Pomeranian.
Yeah. There was a lot of like the comedy thrown in there, even in scenes of like a lot of action or tense moments.
I want to know what would have happened if they kicked the dog as soon as it popped up. It's like, oh, that's it. And they just punt it across the hall.
Man, that thing was when it actually came out into its gross looking form.
Like, no!
That thing was nasty. Yeah. That one actually kind of jumped me. I wasn't expecting it. I thought they were just gonna close the door on it.
Yeah, it looked like something Trevor Henderson would draw. Do you know who that guy is?
No.
Man, he's like this phenomenal artist. Like he does mainly just like he'll take a random picture and then he'll put like a monster in it. But like
Really?
Yeah, like he's on Instagram and he's on Twitter. They're both like Swamp Monster or something. But his name's Trevor Henderson, and like that's his main thing is like monsters that don't belong in the world with like a cute little caption about them for whatever reason. And that dog just looked so much like it. It's like, oh my god.
Kind of
no.
nailed it. Yeah.
I don't like this.
What did you think of the effects and stuff?
So, like, they were good effects, but I do not think this was the same team as the first movie. Because, like,
yeah,
the first movie was, like, a lot of practical effects, which I'm pretty sure
enjoyed.
they did for this one, too. Like, they did practical as much as they could. But, like, a lot of it looked like, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, a lot of the stuff that they use in that looked a lot like that. Like, with the the leper and like the three mouth granny, like that
The
stuff.
granny
Yeah,
was not like I could definitely tell it was CGI
right. But
from
like
looking
not
at it.
bad CGI like Scooby
Yeah,
Doo
it wasn't.
Monster
It
Island.
wasn't. No, it wasn't bad CGI, but it was. It definitely didn't look as scary as the CGI monsters that there were in the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like the first one, like it was just a little boy with no head, and I feel like that's easy enough. Just put a green screen cap on the kid.
Right,
But then like this one where it's just
a
like a
full CGI.
yeah, like a lady who has to hunch over in order to be in the building at all, and then like
Yeah.
three mouths on her. Which like the trailer, they did like a great job of hiding that because like
Oh,
there's
that original scene in the trailer, that whole grandma scene was so tense. I very much enjoyed that. The tenseness was there from the start. I almost wish there was like more of just like the creepy acting from that actress. She did great as that grandma. That
yeah,
was horrifying.
props on grandma for being able to nail it.
Yeah,
Like,
props on
oh, you know
grandma.
what they say. With the like, I'm pretty sure she's like an actual grandma that they just pulled off the street because like she just seemed very grandma-like in nature. It's like, no, I can't really be staying. Don't be so polite. It's like, oh, jeez, okay,
Loved
grandma.
it. Yeah, that whole you knew something was up from the start, and then like the little scenes in the background, the horror movie viewers can see, characters can't stuff was also very good. I liked seeing the grandma out of the corner of my eye just
Yeah, when
shuffle
she does like
across.
that little like Jim carries the mask like across the screen. It's like, oh,
That was unsettling. Sure loved it though. It was very cool to see. Another thing I liked too was that scene as Bill Skarsgård was the like the dad, like her grandfather or whatever, who was like the original Pennywise, when he like was talking and what's it called? You just looked very unsettling. It was cool to see Bill Skarsgård without the Pennywise makeup for a hot second. That was interesting. Yeah, he definitely had like other stuff on,
oh, it took
but
me
he
a sec
wasn't
to figure out what you
Pennywise.
were talking about. Yeah, when he's like putting the makeup on and like he just starts
Yeah,
peeling at his own face and like that's where the Pennywise makeup is. Like, no, no, I don't like this.
yeah, it was cool to see that happening. I thought that was a very interesting scene. A very interesting scene in general because the inclusion of like the original like clown actor was not what I was expecting. I wonder why. I wonder if it's explained in the book why the like if there was any horrible incident that like the grandfather, the original clown, because I'm sure he was a real person at
Yeah,
some point.
if I remember, like he, from what, because it's been way too long, so I'm blanking on a lot of the information that wasn't
Hmm.
carried over to the film. Was that like he wasn't always Pennywise the dancing clown, which is like explained a bit in the movie, where like he always takes on your fear. But
Hmm.
then like when he saw the clown and he realized that kids love clowns, he's like, oh, I'll just be a clown. And then like I think he killed the little girl and the original Pennywise. And then like he just
Mm.
started being Pennywise so he could lure kids and like spook them and then eat them with their
Right.
fear.
Interesting. Interesting.
Cause like
Yeah, I enjoyed that scene. I also really liked the scene where Bill and Mike are up in his attic tripping balls and looking at the Indian
yeah.
the sac. I cannot remember the name.
Did you put something in my water?
The Sikapiwa. I want to say that's almost what they were saying.
I feel like that's
Um,
close enough without being racist that we
yeah,
can get away with that.
yeah. So, something very close to that. The drawings when you saw like Pennywise or it itself as like its original form for a little bit, like
Yeah, with like the three
killing.
little dots, and then it like comes to
Yeah,
Earth, and it's like a giant bird, and then like that monster from that video game about string. I don't remember what that was called, but like he totally looked like that.
yeah, he definitely had like that spooky. I would have loved to have seen him like fully just his original form. I know the brain or whatever in the book. It's like the brain only you can't actually see what it looks like because it's too like you can't process it. You'll see the closest thing that your brain can see, which is like a spider.
Yeah, like that's what they did in the '90s one, where it's like this weird
Right.
alien spider crab thing with like
Yeah.
the underbelly was the deadlights and not the inside of his mouth. Which like that
Hmm.
mouth thing, every time I see it, freaked me out. Where like
Oh
he would like
goodness. Yeah.
peel
When his
up where the
face.
makeup is.
Oh yeah. When his face like from the chin, like it would literally open from chin up, and it was all full of teeth. That was
Yeah, no, that freaked me out.
horrifying.
Like for whatever reason, that wasn't as scary to me as him as a clown because like at that point he's no longer a clown but like a giant demon. And when he was in his spider crab thing, it was like, okay, yeah, no, that's not as bad. But like when he's just like a dude in a clown outfit, it's like, no, stop it, get out of here, go back to being an actual demon. I would much rather see that than this.
I actually, man, I thought he was scarier as the crazy, disgusting crab thing, but I guess you're horrified of clowns, so each our
Yeah,
own.
I think that's like why he was the clown for the most part for them was because of Richie, who was afraid of clowns.
Oh
Which,
yeah,
fun
yeah,
fact, in the first movie and I believe in the second one, when he says he's afraid of clowns and we first like
yeah.
figure
It like
out that's his
pans to
thing.
a clown.
Yeah, in the background, like in that play area, because like there was a thing going on. Because
Like the fair.
yeah, there's a clown on stage and he's dressed up like one of those like old timey clowns.
Hmm.
But that's Bill Skarsgård too.
Is it?
Yeah,
Huh. Who would have thought? Wow, he might have put on a lot of makeup for both of these movies.
but it was all clown makeup.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm not. I don't like clowns. I'm not horrified of clowns though. But when Bill Skarsgård plays a clown, I'm scared of it. He really brought out Pennywise and his weird voice, man. I did not like his voice. Was
Yeah,
not a
God,
fan.
like the only thing that like it- I don't know where I'm going with that, but just the like, yeah, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown,
Oh,
and
I
your
did
name is
not like
Ricky.
the cadence of his voice and like the way he like was
Oh,
friendly and like
stupid Pennywise. No one ever wants to be friends with you.
and he would guilt all of them about the things that like bothered them. Like for the girl, it was like, wow, you think I'm so ugly and hideous, you don't even want to be friends with me because that
It's
was
like,
her thing. That was like
wow,
she.
I've got a birthmark too. It's like that old thing. Pennywise could just blow it away and
I
it'll be
don't like
gone.
Pennywise impression. It's horrifying.
I can do the smile thing too. The like weird droop lip
oh
thing.
yeah,
Like,
his little like droopy lip. Yeah, um, yeah, man, that the way he did the voice and like the way that he talked to kids, and it was just gross and odd. And oh, I didn't like when he like impersonated Beverly's father. That was icky.
yeah, I did not like that.
No, did not like that. He just it really did a good job on playing on everyone's fears. You could tell that he like knew exactly what freaked everyone out always.
Yeah, I
Just
mean
the way
that's his
he interacts
thing
with them.
because like in the book, there's like two things that come from the macroverse, which is like where him and a lot of Stephen King's like evil things come from is the macroverse.
Yeah, don't
But
they like talk about that in like the Dark Tower and stuff like that?
yeah, like I, I I think there's a theory going around that Pennywise is the Man in Black in that movie, because like he's all forms of evil in the universe, or the macroverse, and
Mm.
so like Bill Skarsgård and I think it's Bradley Cooper are technically the same guy,
Mm.
but what is it? Yeah, he is all evil and decay, and so anything that could be evil in the universe is something that he would be. So that's why he's
Mm.
able to figure out exactly what you're afraid of, and specifically why he targets children. Because like a child's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm afraid of my molesting father," versus an adult who's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm afraid of not being able to pay my mortgage this month." Because like you can't eat mortgage payments, but you can totally feed off of like actual legitimate fear of being abused.
Okay. Another thing that I thought was interesting in the film too. So sorry to steer away, but
No,
the
it's
the
alright, fine.
ending, they kept their memories because I know in the books they'll all forget again. They all slowly forget after, but they all kept their memories
Yeah, I
in
feel like that was
the
fine with that. They did that.
yeah. I almost like that more because it gives a sense of like yeah they're stronger because of it. You know, like it's I feel like the fact they kept their memories was almost like a bigger slap in the face to Pennywise, and like they really conquered it, you know.
Yeah, I think like in the book it was explained as like the same thing that they explained it as in the beginning of the movies. Like, the further you are away from Derry, the more you forget. But like
Mm,
in this one, it was not because of the town itself, Derry, but because Pennywise lived there.
mhm,
Because like now that he's gone, we're able to remember everything regardless.
mm. I wonder what on a tangent. I wonder what books are all connected in his macroverse, or if literally every one of his books is some a little bit connected somehow. I don't think you put that much underlying thought into all of them, but man, would be interesting.
Yeah. So from what I know, there is God, what is it? Oh, the mist is definitely connected with that because like the mist itself is the in between for universes,
Hmm.
and in the show Haven, which was a sci-fi thing, which is based
Hmm.
off of a book called Colorado Kid by Stephen King.
Hmm.
Like, there's this alternate universe where everyone comes from. Well, not everyone, but like powers and whatnot, and like a couple people, they come from a different universe,
Mm.
and the way to travel through is through this fog. And
The
like,
mist.
yeah, a guy who's from the other universe is like, no, I'm not going back. I know what's on the other end, and it's terrifying beyond belief. I would rather you kill me now than have to go through.
It? Question mark.
I would assume either it, or because like in the canon, it has been on Earth for a couple thousand years.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I
It's
would
like
assume like just the monsters. Because have you seen The Mist with Thomas
I've
Jane?
yeah, and the ending sucked.
Yeah, it's excuse me. I love that ending, and so does
it
Stephen
was
King.
I
Stephen
I
King's like,
love the
man, I
ending
wish I
too.
could have made that my ending.
I love the ending too. I just I it it was hard to watch. I agree with the ending. It was just sad. You know,
Yeah,
I've seen The Mist. Was so that they're all a bit connected. Then that's interesting. Man, Stanley or not Stanley. I'm gonna say Stanley Kubrick. Stephen King really knows how to write scary stuff, man.
yeah,
He's a weird guy. He was weird, interesting cameo he had too.
yeah.
As
I thought
the
that was
bike
funny.
salesman
It's like, well, if you're
making
gonna
fun
be a
of an author.
didn't quite much like the ending. So, oh.
Yep. Yeah, I did enjoy his little making fun of an author scene in that movie. I thought it was pretty well done. Overall, though, pretty just solid movie. My only gripe was like the story was a little all around, like kind of going back and forth between a lot of different stuff. I kind of wish it went from like place to place to place, like in a direct order, or like maybe a bit. I don't know how to phrase it. Just a bit more
It just
cohesive for
felt
me.
like a bit jumbled.
Yeah, it didn't. I just feel like the whole movie didn't take itself too seriously with different things. Gosh, there was some parts that I just really loved the atmosphere. Like when Eddie, that funny scene where he got vomited on. Before it became all funny,
Yeah, it was like
he
super
was
tense of like, oh my
the
goodness, I've been
gross
in this
medical
basement before,
stuff.
and like it's hell to be here for me because of like the type of person I am. Oh no, it's just nothing. Oh, it's fine. Oh, I
Yeah.
now I got the monster, and I'm having a redeeming arc where I am. It's like, oh, I'm going to get the monster. I'm strangling it. Oh my god, it's getting smaller. I'm about to win, and then the vomit scene.
I thought that whole atmosphere of him like walking up to the thing and like I think it was as a kid, like when he like knocks over the like blood bags and stuff, like all the gross broken medical stuff, and there's like needles and stuff. I thought the atmosphere for that one was spooky as hell. I thought they did a good job with that. That was just very gross and spooky for me. I'm not a big fan of like the whole medical, like big nightmare for me is just alone hospital at night kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. As someone who's done that before, I can tell
No,
you that's not something that's fun. Like even if it's for nothing, because like I went in there for like a tumor removal, and I was there overnight just to make sure I was fine.
right,
And
right,
well, like just staying the night is like I don't like
right.
this.
Yeah, I just oh my gosh, I just do not. I just am not a fan of all of that. That one pretty much played off my fears a good bit. Same with I thought it that's another thing I liked about the movie was it had like a bit for everyone. Like you really don't like clowns. That one, all the Bill Skarsgård scenes really got you.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of things that were presented that will scare a lot of different people because people have different fears, which was good on their part because they covered a really wide variety of just horrifying things. I feel like I know people that are easily disgusted by like gross food related things, like that'll really get them. So like the whole scene at the Chinese restaurant was perfect, like the fortune cookies becoming gross little baby demon things, you know, and eyeballs and whatnot, along with like the whole Beverly thing, which was just really gross. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are that's one of their worst fears. Same with Ben and like and also Beverly and like the whole school thing where like near the end she was like in the bathroom stall with the blood and whatnot.
yeah. Because what was it in the first movie? They dumped a bunch of like sewer
Like
water on her
trash.
in
Yeah,
the
they like filled up
trash
trash
water.
in the water. Yeah, that was gross. It's also one of my things is I don't like schools at night either. Or just schools alone. Just not a, I'm weird. I guess I'm weird, but yeah, I just don't. I'm just not a fan.
That one I
Hospitals
can
or
see being
schools.
scary, but I've never been scared by it. Just because, like, well, I mean, like, I know it's probably you and me had a similar experience because we both went to choir, but I had
Hmm.
been doing it for however many years, and I don't know how long you'd been doing it. And so, like, staying after school late at night, being like by myself in the school was something that I was used to. It was like, yeah, no, it's just me in this
I
empty
did
school.
not like that when I'd come home from things, from events and stuff, or back to the school, and I'd be waiting to get picked up or something as a kid. And it was night like that. I hated those scenes. So like the scene with Ben getting chased and hiding in a locker, really, I did not like that at all. That was not good for me because it was in the school and it was just him and like it was I didn't like it. It was not good. But that's I mean they did a good job because there's very situational things that scare me, like I just noted, and they got me on two accounts, you know.
Yeah, uh, like it's a very very specific scene, but when Stanley's little kid self is turning into the spider, and then that
Oh
little
yeah.
like claw shoots out from behind his eye.
Oh yeah, that wasn't.
Yeah, that freaked me out. Like I'm not a big eye guy thing. Like I can just stick my finger on my eye, like put it under my eyelid. I'm fine with that. But like
Right.
seeing like a bug sprout from behind his eye, like that freaked me out. I was unsettled.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not too many gross out things that'll get me. Um I'm not one um that's too squeamish. I wouldn't say. Only on me is what gets me. Like if I get cut or like actual like I don't know. When it's on me, it gets me horrified and scared and grossed out. But like I can see things like arms or limbs getting removed and like it's not too big of a deal. But like that the eye like you were saying was just that one actually did make me grimace. Definitely.
Yeah,
I definitely was looking at that like I don't like that.
I'm like physically cringing at the moment just because I'm thinking about it. It's like, no,
Yeah.
stop. I've been rubbing my eyes since I started talking about it.
Mm, yeah. Poor poor Stanley. He really got
Yeah,
shafted.
yeah, poor Stanley, man. Like, I think Richie was also Jewish, but like they never made it as apparent as with Stanley. And
Oh, yeah, he
so
had like
like
his whole like he had to do his reading or whatever to be quote unquote become a man.
yeah, it's like I don't want to be a man, and Stan's like,
I did like that scene. I'm really glad. I feel like that should have been in the first movie. I'm so happy that they added that.
yeah, I think that was a deleted scene from the first movie.
Oh, that's awesome. Perfect, man. I
Like,
really
they
like
took a
that one.
lot
I
of
really
Stanley's characterization from the first movie out, because like a lot of the scenes were like of him being like too scared to do the thing, which like adds to him being too scared of it when he's an adult that he like physically just, it's like no, I can't do it. And he takes his own life so that way he doesn't have to go back to it.
Right. I do wish there was more characterization from him because like not knowing about the suicide from the books and stuff previously, I feel like that came as kind of like a blind side. Like nobody
Right, because
who
like
didn't
everyone
read
else,
the
like,
books
yeah,
or
no,
have any
I can.
foreknowledge.
I'll go back to Derry. I guess I made an oath. I'll do it. And then Sam's like, "Jokes on you,
Kill?
sucker."
Can kill myself. Yeah, no, I had I not known that was happening, I definitely would have been pretty blindsided by that. I also really liked him as a kid. Like his character as a kid was really good. I would have enjoyed seeing him in his adult self. You know.
Yeah, he wasn't brash like Richie, but he also wasn't like as like nice as Beverly or Bill. He was just the
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm here because you guys are my friends, but I'm
Right.
not gonna kill myself for you guys.
I did enjoy the middleman thing. There was a lot of characters for everybody to like identify with, and he was one of mine. Was like Stanley. Like he was definitely like in between. He wasn't too caring and that wasn't too brave. You know.
Yeah, he wasn't like Bill, who was like, I'm gonna lose my stutter for this speech to show how much I've developed as a character. But he
Right.
also wasn't. Eddie was like, I am not even gonna move from this spot because I'm too terrified of this head crab.
That was interesting too because I don't remember like Eddie's always been like scared, but he even when he was a kid, like he still reacted and did stuff. Like when he froze up like that, that was kind of took me by surprise because I'd never seen him just completely freeze like that on his
Yeah.
friends.
I think it was because like up until that point, all the spooks that he'd been getting were like just spooks, with the exception of
Bowers.
yeah, who like stabbed him in the face. And at that point, he's like, okay, Bowers just stabbed me in the head. I went to the library, and now Bowers has an axe in his head, and Mike is almost gonna die. I don't think I can do this now. And now, like, it's actually getting to him. And as an adult, he's got the fear of, like, I have a wife I need to go back to, a job.
Right.
I have the stuff that I'm going to lose if I die out. And so I'm going to freeze, which is exactly how I react when I get scared. Is I freeze. And so
Yeah.
like, seeing that portrayed as, like, oh, he's just stuck there. I understand exactly what he's going through. And then, like, when they're underneath the water and they're, like, all trying to find Beverly, which,
And
like,
he just freezes.
yeah, my funny, like, that was the funniest thing when, like, the old lady
Yeah.
pops out, like, time to sink! It's like, because of the opposite of the thing. It's like, I know it's, like, the dumbest joke in the movie, but it's still my favorite. It's like, yes, they did it.
Man,
But,
no,
yeah, when he's up
I
on
did
that,
like seeing his like the culmination of his personality and his character when he finally like threw the spear, and then was like proud of himself, and that was sad because that was
yeah,
that was it.
aw. It kills monsters if you
Yeah.
believe it does. But like, I like
Hell
in
of a
the,
throw, by the way.
yeah, I know, right? Especially for someone who's like typically the I'm not gonna do something guy.
Yeah.
But I like in the book when he's using the the inhaler on him. He sprays it. It's battery acid, slime. That kills him. He's like, "Ah, no, because like if you believe the thing is true, then it's true. And so like if I spray him with what I think is battery acid, then he's getting covered in battery acid. And why wouldn't that kill him? And then they did that in the '90s thing too, but then they
Right.
still killed Richie also.
It definitely was.
Sorry, Eddie, why do I keep saying Richie?
I know Eddie always does. I'm sure he died in the book then too. I actually do not know, but it sounds like he dies always.
Yeah. I think like his character dies in all three forms of media that he's in.
Fantastic. Poor guy.
Yeah, and Stanley. Those two really like. It goes Stanley, then Eddie in terms of the short stick. Because like
Right.
Stanley, like he killed himself at the beginning of the film, so he wouldn't have to deal with the monster. But then everyone just forgets about him. But then like Eddie goes through with it, and then he just keeps getting punished for going through with it.
Yeah.
Like the leper and the memory of the leper from the past, the vomit, getting stabbed in the face, actually dying.
Another thing they glossed over was Beverly knew Stanley was gonna kill himself, and like
Yeah,
they
well,
talked about it for a second,
because of the
and then they're like, "All right,
deadlights.
yeah." But that would have been pertinent information. Like as soon as she saw Stanley, like she was crying immediately in the restaurant. Like she already knew what
Yeah,
that
it's like,
little
oh,
message meant.
oh no.
I would have been more pissed, honestly, that she knew and didn't say anything.
Well, I feel like I'd be a bit
'Cause she
angry
knew as a kid too.
when I first found out, but then realizing immediately that she knows exactly how I'm going to die and that it's going to be a horrible way to die, I'd just be like more sad than anything that, oh man, I'm not going to make it. And she knows exactly how.
Yep. Let's see. I like their analogy that Mike used of why they had to do it this cycle because of it's like a virus. Like it really was like no one's gonna last. Everybody's gonna kill themselves. Like that's what's gonna happen. It'll just
I thought
it will happen.
I thought when he was saying that it was a virus, he literally meant it. It was a virus that like because it
Oh, I
started
thought,
attacking Bill and like Georgie, and then Bill started making friends with all these people. Then it started infecting them too.
I thought he meant like because of their experiences, they had essentially like a curse or a virus. Like it will kill you. It'll make you kill yourself. Like eventually, like if you don't do something about this now and get rid of it, this sickness in you will will make you kill yourself.
Yeah, no, because I don't like. The only one that I knew killed himself was Stanley. Bev
Yeah.
said that everyone else just died gruesomely.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't infer on like everyone was a suicide thing.
That's
thought
what
it
I
was
was
like just
was
because
thinking.
they experienced it, like they're going to die before they can make it to the next cycle. And
Right.
like Eddie said, even if they do make it to the next cycle, they'll all be like 70 because they were
Right.
like between like 12 to 15 for the first one, then 20 something years passed, like almost 30. So they're all in their mid 30s to early 40s.
40s.
And if they wait another 27 years, they're all going to be like 60 to 70.
60s, 27 years. So yeah, they'll all be 70s. Yeah, no, I just thought like, yeah, I guess I actually don't know how it's phrased in the book, but like from what Mike was saying, like it kind of sounded like it was kind of like they would just kind of go crazy and kill themselves, or maybe I don't know, maybe they will just get like Final Destinations had they not done that.
Man, Final Destination,
I'm
that's
not
a
sure.
good franchise. I haven't seen
Man,
that
the first
forever.
one was, gosh, that one got me afraid of
Airplanes?
dentist.
Dentist?
Driving behind trucks that have
Oh, the second
I-
one.
or logs. Yeah, yep.
You're talking about the second. You
And-
said the first one.
Was it the second one?
Yeah, the second one is the log truck, the highway explosions.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, fun fact, you know the black guy in that movie who like dies in the hospital bed that explodes?
Yeah.
That's Kratos from God of War.
The voice, really?
Yeah.
All right.
right?
Side note. Yeah, that's Kratos from God of War. Neat.
Right?
That's wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, back to it. But yeah, like so like how like I guess just like more like actual lore with like me and you, because like you were talking about how Final Destination is the reason you're afraid of like dentists and driving behind big old trucks with logs on them. Like,
Right.
The 1990s It and then a film called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I watched those both when I was like a really young age because my parents didn't want me to be afraid of clowns. So like, look at how dumb these two clowns are. You have nothing to be
Right.
afraid of. And unfortunately, their
And
plan backfired exactly because now I'm terrified of clowns.
that's a bad way to do that.
Yeah, no, you take your
Goodness.
kid to the circus and make them see like a real clown. It's like, oh look, see,
Nice.
this guy's got balloons and is your friend. You don't
Yeah.
show them like, oh, this guy's going to scare you so much that you taste better when he eats you, or these guys just want to turn you into cotton candy so they can eat you, because then you're afraid that clowns are going to eat you.
Yeah. Who would have thought that might have happened? Not your parents.
They don't
uh,
think very far ahead.
gosh. Yeah, that was another. I like that bit of lore. I thought that was thoroughly scary. Was the fact that he just scares people just because it makes them taste better. I thought that was spooky.
Yeah, that's definitely like something that really freaked me out. Finding out as I grew up, it's like, man, why does he even do this? And then I read the books, like, oh, they taste better when he eats them. Good. That's so much more comforting than he's just a
So
serial
great.
killer. Because now
So
he's not just John Wayne Gacy. He's John Wayne Gacy Dahmer. It's like, cool. Yeah, John
Yeah,
Wayne Gacy. He was a serial killer clown.
I
don't know
do
how
wonder
people
what
cannot be afraid of clowns.
I wonder what Stephen King's inspirations were behind it in general. I'm sure.
I think it was
I
just
don't
like
know when it
a
was
fear
written.
itself. Like growing up as a
Right.
kid and being afraid of whatever it is you're afraid of and being able to
Mhm.
overcome it.
Right. Yeah, he really
But also sewer
Really,
orgies.
also super. Yeah, that's man. I like it is such a good book, like and such a good story. But then there's always that, like I, like that's always like in the back of my mind, like yeah, this is great, like wow, it's such a good overcoming fear, all that. There definitely was a child sewer orgy
Yeah.
that happened in the book. That's not ever not in my brain when I'm watching that. I'm like, gosh, that's interesting.
It's like, yeah, this is a cool movie about children overcoming their actual fear and adults coming to terms with their own mortality, and also a sewer orgy with children who aren't even in high school.
Also, Stephen King's very weird. He's a very weird
Yeah.
guy. A lot of horror
Yeah.
writers are very weird.
I met
He's,
Stephen King once. He was a
have
really
you?
nice guy. Yeah. So like I actually went to Maine for a little bit for like 2 weeks in July of 2017 when the first It came out.
Mm,
And it was because my stepdad's mom lives in Maine, and we were
Hmm.
visiting for 4th of July. And
Oh,
like apparently, just down the road from where she lives, Stephen King.
that's whack. That is
Right?
insane. I would love to meet that interesting man. That he's I have no idea what he would be like. I really don't.
Just really nice guy.
Funny. That's crazy to me. And he writes books so rapid fire. Like he has so many books.
Right?
So many. Gosh. They're all unsettling. I don't know. Wasn't he like on drugs for a lot
Yes,
them?
a lot of cocaine.
Yeah. A lot of cocaine. Oh yeah. That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. Cocaine, that'll do it to you, man.
Yeah, man. That'll make you think of killer clowns and
A
turtles
car that
that-
comes to life.
oh,
Burying your kid and your cat in a cemetery that brings them back to life.
I did like Misery. If you ever seen that one, that was
Yeah, yeah. I fed you. I gave you a place to stay. And you can't even muster up a decent ending to your book.
good. It's funny. He does make fun of. I enjoyed that because I like it when he makes fun of writers
Yeah.
because I'm sure he hears a lot of similar things. Like same when what's his name was getting criticized for all of his book endings and whatnot. I wonder
Yeah.
if I wonder
He's
if
like-
he was on board for all of that stuff.
Bill, your books, they suck. The endings are terrible. It's like, yeah, but not everyone gets a happy ending sometimes. Like, yeah, but they still want one. And then, like, he's finally like, yeah, I'm going to start writing happy endings.
I bet Stephen King can relate.
Yeah. But, like, what was it? Like, the Mist, back to that. Like, that just had,
Yeah.
like, an okay ending where it's like, yeah, they lose gas in the middle of the road, and that's the end of the book. But then the
Right.
movie's like, let's take it a step further, and then like they just like ruin your day.
They
like,
thoroughly
oh.
ruined my day.
Like I was not okay for a week after I saw that. It's like no, no.
They do make you care more though. Endings like that will make me care so much more than just a happy ending. Like there has to be that thing. Like I don't know if you have ever seen There Will Be Blood.
I haven't. No.
Oh my goodness. That should be one of our next discussions. Older movie, I think early 2000s, but it's I mean, I guess I don't know really what we could say that hasn't already been said. It's already like one of a really good movie, really really highly reviewed.
Yeah, the only
Um
thing I know from that film is I drink your milkshake.
Daniel Day-Lewis friggin' kills it in that. But it's part of the reason why I remember it so well is because that ending is not a good one. It's not a
Oh
good
man.
ending. The film culminates so much. There's so much to it. There's so much character development, and it's not exactly a great ending. Like it brought me back to like what Bill's character said. Like not everyone gets a happy ending. And I liked how that was phrased because movies and films and books that do that to me, not exactly like it has to be an awful ending, but maybe like less than like sunshine and rainbows and everyone wins, you know?
Right, because like the It movie, this one, like not everyone won. Two of the main characters from the last film are
Right.
dead.
It was more memorable that way. It's maybe not exactly what everyone wanted. I'm sure nobody wanted to see Eddie die, you know, but it's
Yeah,
not
especially not
wasn't
Richie.
his it wasn't his day. Yeah.
It wasn't his day. It's like it's a living.
I did enjoy. I keep saying I did enjoy. I liked when Richie went back to the bridge and he finally wrote
Yeah.
R plus E. That was cute.
Yeah,
Really
or
enjoyed
like
that.
what was?
I
Did he?
I really enjoyed that.
I know that he started off with the R plus, but I don't know if he ever put the E there.
I think he just left it. I think he left it that whole time was just R plus, and then he never had the guts to like come out.
Right.
And that was him conquering his fear at the very end of the movie, just like everyone else. Like Bev and
Ben.
Ben finally got together, and that was them like conquering. Like Beverly conquered her whole like thing, and Ben finally confessed his feelings, and like it'd only been 27 friggin' years.
Right.
And Bill with his ending, he's finally like ended that other story the way he wanted to, and he's opening up another book, you know. And same with Mike, his was finally leaving Gary. Like it really was everyone kind of conquering it, but
Right.
at the price of characters, you know.
Yeah, like if you conquer your fear, you get the life you always wanted. But if you don't, then you don't get a life.
Right.
Because Stanley is like, no, I know I'm gonna be too afraid for this, and so he's out, and he doesn't
Right.
get a happily end of.
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism in the book and the movie itself. Like you could really like infer different meanings from the characters, like overcoming fear versus like just like there's a lot to take in from it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Here's something I want to talk about real quick. Was it on purpose that they made his name Ben Hanscom? Because he's so
Is
damn
it Ben
handsome?
Hanscom?
Yeah, it's like Ben Hanscom. That's his
That's
name. It's
funny.
like they put a C in so that way he wouldn't be Ben Handsome.
They sure knew he was gonna be handsome.
Right? But also
Yeah,
it's like
I don't-
Hanscom and Hanlum. Like those names are too similar. And Ben and Bev. There's so many things. And you and me keep getting like Richie and Eddie confused. What's going on with
Yeah.
like that naming thing?
It's man, that's Stephen King. You met him.
Mr. King, if you're listening to this, why?
Why? Just to confuse us. I did like oh my gosh, I love the cast for all the adult characters too. I thought they all killed it.
Yeah.
I really like Bev. I don't even know.
Well, not all of them killed it. Not Stanley.
You couldn't cut it, you might say. Yeah, no.
Oh, I'm sad now.
Stealing Pennywise's joke there. Jessica
Chastain?
Chastain. Yeah, I really loved her in the first scene with her and her awful abusive husband. I thought she was a really good actress for that. Oh my gosh.
I did not like that. That hit too close to home.
That was so unsettling. It was just so gross to watch, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh, that was one thing that also like I mentioned earlier, like I almost wish there was more of her like overcoming that. Like I know she fought him and like beat him off, but I just wanted like
Well, phrasing.
that. Gosh,
I'm sorry.
just wanted him to come back and like for her to finally overcome that like face to face with this awful person, you know.
I feel
And
like
it
she would have
happens
had to. I think it just happened off screen because like
right.
she got married
But
and
there's all that
pregnant
build
with
up
Ben.
for it, you know. Yeah.
I wonder whose dog that was. Like, did they just both decide let's get this dog after they
Oh,
got
was there
together?
a dog? Was there a dog on
Yeah,
the
on that
boat?
boat. There was
Oh,
totally a
I
dog on that
was. I
boat.
had no idea.
You know, I'm
That's
afraid of dogs too, so I noticed him right off the bat. It's like, no.
man. Also, that underwater kiss with Ben and Bev, I
Yeah,
felt like
I
that
didn't
was
like
on
that.
screen. That was on screen for a long time.
I just didn't like the underwater kiss because, like, it was that water is way too green to be okay with kissing underwater. Like, they
I just,
probably went
man,
home and were just like swarming with algae.
I was watching that like still kind of expecting like something to be amiss. I don't know, like I felt like that like I've said like the ending like saying goodbye and like 30,000 scenes of them as children riding bikes, farewell. Oh man, I just for some reason like I was still on edge. Like they jumped in the water and like things were like they all like were like, oh, what happened to his glasses?
Yeah,
Like that.
it
I
was
felt like that
too.
was almost like a setup.
Yeah, like the ending was so nice, but it dragged on for so long that it felt like it wasn't gonna be a happy ending.
Yeah, I really would have been fine with like them getting out of that cave and like looking at like the destroyed house and like Richie being sad and then cutting to like the letters and everyone's ending versus them like jumping in the water and like all that like kind of I want to say unnecessary. Like it didn't. I
Like
didn't
it
need it.
just showed
I
the
didn't need
growth,
it.
but it carried on for too long.
Yeah, yeah. Like
I
I
feel
like
like
I would have been fine with showing the growth from like what I said. Like they just cut to like the letter opening.
and
Um,
like during the reading of the letter, it shows that everyone
shows
has
each
grown. Like
character
Richie,
different scenes. Yeah, it
like
could have even shown more of the characters like after the events of the entire, like not in Derry anymore, like on their own, like Ben and Bev. Show a bit of them while the letters being read, a bit more than they did. Show a bit more of Mike and like him finishing his book, or like him with his wife, or like you know what I mean.
right.
Like I didn't need all of them just chilling in the water for a little bit and then some underwater make out and like
I feel
rich
like
out.
had the movie ended when they were staring at the reflections of themselves in the like
That would have been good.
wall, like it's the five of them looking at the seven of them as kids. I feel like if
Yeah,
they ended it with that reflection, I
that would have been
I
good.
would have been just as happy had they ended it the way they already did.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Just like a cool filmography thing. Just like watching that, and then like it just fade out or just cut to
Yeah,
it chapter 2. You know.
yeah, because like the first one had ended with it chapter
Yeah.
1. What? And like this one ended it chapter 2. And
Right,
then
right.
like they like but what about 3? Or like it just ends with the end question mark. No, Skarsgård.
That would have lost my mind. Like I do love Bill Skarsgård, but I'm so happy they didn't do like a Hollywood thing and read like and friggin' make it longer or
Bill
add on
Skarsgård
more.
did say he's okay if they want to make a third one that's a prequel.
No prequel.
Yeah.
That I actually would not mind something similar because it wouldn't be a happy ending.
Yeah,
It wouldn't.
'cause, like it'd be like
Yeah.
what is it?
27 years prior to the original cast, I wonder.
Yeah, it would probably be like when the parents are all kids, or heck,
cycle
even like
before years.
many cycles before, like with it discovering Pennywise
Shaka
and like
Piwa.
killing him and becoming the new Pennywise. Like when my father came to this town, he was a clown,
Yeah,
and then
that
a
was
different
fun one.
clown ate and killed him.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting, or just like just seeing the beginning of it. I really would enjoy seeing the beginning of it. How it all started. How it all started.
Yeah.
Um,
Now that we've seen it all end,
yeah, exactly.
although
I really thought the seeing the Shaka Piwa like fighting with it was cool. I didn't
Yeah.
I did like that piece of like lore
And
almost.
then like at the end, it was like, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Because it
Yep.
was a, what do you call it, Richie? A gazebo? Tell
I
Mike
that
didn't
was
work. It's like,
yeah, that
because
was
they
such a
didn't
good.
believe they'd kill it. I thought we believed we could kill it. It's like, oh,
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Man.
Mike. Like I felt bad because like Mike genuinely thought like because they didn't believe they could kill it. If we believe we can kill it, then that'll be it.
Right.
And you know what?
Exactly.
I think that's true. It's just because he knew about the past, he knew that he couldn't do it, and so he's the reason that it didn't go through.
Man. Maybe that's a good point. I like the take on like the ritual of whatever.
The ritual of
I thought
Chud.
that was yeah, I thought that was a cool
Yeah, I'm glad
way.
I finally heard it spoken
Oh,
because like
because you didn't know how to. It's ritual of chode. Is that what it spelled like?
no, it's chud, but like chud is
Oh.
also another slang. So it's like I don't know
Oh.
about that.
Is it chewed?
Yeah, it chewed like he chewed it up.
Oh,
Like
okay. Ritual of chewed.
CHUD, I think.
Interesting.
They're chud.
Should.
Yeah. The ritual of chud. Do you want to kill the clown with me? I can't be friends with you anymore.
I never. One thing that caught me off guard was Mike's whole lying about it too. Like I noticed the scratched out stuff, but like I could just kind of like put it in the back of my brain. Like I never really thought it would become anything. I did like how he had like underlying intentions of just trying to kill it and not telling them about the fact that like, hey, so the first time that they ever tried this, also it's never been successful.
Yeah, the last time this happened, everyone died, and that's why it is still here. Like, I'm surprised
Right.
no one like questioned him about like,
like,
if this
hey.
ritual works, how come he's still here?
Right.
Because like I'm just not piecing that together. Like, they're all pretty smart people. They've dealt with him before. The fact that now suddenly there's a ritual that kills him, but he's still here, it should imply some shenanigans.
Right.
But also, like, it was during the course of like what, 2 or 3 days that entire film took place. Because like there was like
Yeah, I want to say like 3 days, maybe 2 or 3.
because it was what was it like the opening scene where
They got
Adrian Mellon is murdered, and
Mhm.
then like Mike calls everyone, and then
Yeah.
however long is in between them getting the call and them coming there, but we don't count
Right.
that because that's not on screen. And then they're all there, and it's that night of with the diner. Then they stay there, and the next day after the drug trip and finding out that Bev can see them all die because of the deadlights.
hmm
Now it's the next day, and they're all at the clubhouse, and then from there it's like everyone go get your things, and then that entire day with everyone getting their tokens is that entire day, and then the end of the night is with the like the fair and them finally going into the building. So like, I think just 2 days is all that film was.
Yeah, I mean a lot took place in 2 days.
Yeah.
A lot. Definitely was not expecting Stan or Eddie to get stabbed in the face.
Yeah, that was like, while it was terrifying and something I'm afraid of happening to me, it was still pretty funny to see it happen. Just, it's your time. Why my time? I don't want it to be my time. It's because he said it's your turn to float. Oh, and he like gets
Weird
into the
part.
shower and then like
Weird part was what's his name? Bowers had his like chauffeur as the zombie of his buddy in the chart, like that old car.
yeah, the Firebird or whatever. It's just, just straight up like Hofstadter's like.
Friggin' Ghost Rider over here chauffeuring him
I'm
around.
pretty sure that was Pennywise.
Interesting.
Cause like he is like a magical being. Cause like I don't know how else to say he's magic. 'Cause,
You
like,
know,
he can
I'm sure it
go
was
from place to
Pennywise,
place to
but just
place.
interesting use of Pennywise's power.
Yeah, cause like he made Henry go crazy when he was a teenager.
That TV scene was
Like,
horrifying.
Like he killed his dad in the
Yeah.
chair he's sleeping, just switchblade to the knife. The deleted scene where he kills his 2 other friends by slitting their throat, and like you know he's crazy because like he puts them in the car, drives with them to the Pennywise house on like what is it, Neilstrom Street or something,
Yeah.
Neilbolt, and like he's talking to them as if they're not dead. He's covered in blood. It's like, look, boys, they're limes to the sweater, and it's like, who are you talking? Oh, they're dead. They're both murdered. Oh my god, he's actually crazy now. And then like they bring him to the psych ward, and then he comes back and he's trying to kill them all again.
Hmm.
Like he's just a crazy dude. Pennywise drove him crazy.
Yeah, no, it was interesting watching his like complete downfall. And it wasn't even like 100% his fault. Like he was abused as a kid, you know.
Right. And growing up in Maine, which like I was there and like half the people are like Bill, where it's like, yeah, no, I'm just a kind gentle soul. I'm here because
Hmm.
it's such a nice place. And the other half of the people are like Henry was like, fuck you, you don't get to breathe my air.
Jeez.
Yeah, and like not to be mean to Maine, but like
To me.
I was for like those 2 weeks I was there was like this fair going on for like 6 days, and like there was one of the booths, and no one had an issue with it, but it was like selling a bunch of decals, and
Hmm.
all of them were like somewhere in between like semi-racist to super racist, and a lot of
Great.
them were like
That's,
very just bigotry, like
jeez.
you know that Calvin peeing on flowers decal where it's like him
Oh
just like,
yeah.
yeah, so it's not flowers, it was a pride flag. It's like, oh, okay, man, I
Mm,
see your game. That's why I was like not
yeah.
like seeing the first scene with Adrian Mellon being like murdered because he was gay. Like it was still shocking to see, but not shocking to know that that would happen. Just because I was in Maine and I know that sort of thing is like still prevalent there. It's like, oh
It's insane
man,
to me that that kind of thing still happens
yeah.
in this generation.
But so overall, it was a very terrifying movie.
Yeah, there's
I
I
was,
mean, a lot of conversation
yeah.
about it. There's a lot of talk about the whole movie. It was
There are three
horrifying,
hours of movie is very scary if
very
you
scary.
like
When
drinking a
up in that
lot right
scene.
beforehand. So like half the movie I was just anxious because I had to pee. It's like no, no, you can't miss it. But yeah, no, it was a very terrifying movie. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Which if you haven't, go see it. I just recommended it to you, dummy. Um, like if you're terrified of clowns, it's a good scare for you. If you're terrified of anything at all, I'm sure they hit on it at one point. Homophobia, needles, vomit, uh, body issues, anything that you could be afraid of is probably in this movie.
Yeah, they have a very wide spectrum of fears. So
Yeah.
really, really nailed it. Really nailed the ending. Wrapped it up nicely.
But any closing remarks before we shut this down for the evening?
No,
Evening.
I think you wrapped it up nice.
All right. Well then, you guys join us next week. We're gonna be talking about Mortal Kombat 1992.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll be a good one.
But I believe we'll be having a guest with us. Do you think Emily will be able to make it?
Oh, I sure hope so. We'll see.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind.
But yeah, no. You guys have a great night. Stay safe, and you'll float too.
God. See ya.
All right, man. You have a great night.
Yeah, have a good one, man.